Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. Shetland Apache is back again, this time leading the Wee Dawi against the Greenskins of Slade X. Shetland Apache is a Twitch streamer, so make sure you check him out by following the link in the description down below for more battles and tournament coverage as well. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and as you can probably tell, this battle will be nothing short of entertaining. We have a Rune Lord in charge of the Dwarfs, and you can see a front line that consists of 4 units of Iron Drakes. With their fiery weapons, they will cause that extra morale damage through the Burnt trait. Back here as well, you can see we've got a Flame Cannon that will look to do the same as an artillery piece, and that Flame Cannon is actually protected by the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, the Dragonback Slayers, and a Thane as well. On either flank, you can see Ekron's Miners to the left, and a regular unit of Miners with blasting charges to the right, again bringing in some armor-piercing damage in melee and some fire damage from their ammunition, though they won't cause burnt leadership damage, of course. And then back here, you can see we've got 3 units of Thunderers here, here, and over here, and they are all protected by these Dwarf Warriors with Grey weapons, should something manage to close the gaps to them. On the other side of the field, we do have the Greenskins, and they are being led by none other than Azag the Slaughterer up in the air, and he has brought with him a Night Goblin Shaman with some magical support. The center up front over here consists of these Black Orcs. Of course, they are armor-piercing, very effective against the Dwarfs, and then on either flank we do have these Goblins, maybe hoping to get some flanking in there, get some extra morale damage that way, and occupy some units as well, maybe close down Thunderers and the like. To the right flank, though, you can see as well we've got these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers as well as Mogreb's Mangy Marauders, who have their armor-piercing arrows, hoping to get some damage done, and off in the distance you can see some Vanguard deployment going on. We do have these Night Goblins, who are actually the 8-peak loonies, or 8-peak loonies I should say, and we also have the Rusty Errors over here, while off to the side here we've got the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, who are anti-infantry and armor-piercing, as well as their Regiment of Renowned Brethren, Durkit's Squigs. So let's take a look at how this all breaks down. There's a lot of sneakiness going on in the back over there, and you can see the Dwarves playing quite aggressively here, pushing forward, hoping to get some damage in before lines are able to meet, and of course, with leadership being a key weakness among many Greenskin units, they're going to try and use that burnt ability as well as possible. And you can see over here these Mogreb's Mangy Marauders as well as the Goblin Wolf Rider Archers are pushing in nice and early to get some early shots and maybe take care of some of these Iron Drakes, but in comes some fire from the Thunderers, doing a lot of damage both to health and to morale on these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, while in the center over here you can see the aggression beginning from the Flame Cannon firing away at these Black Orcs. Not a bad idea at all, of course. You want to try and eliminate the very threatening units as quickly as possible, and you can see at the same time still these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers are falling apart. They're just within range of those Thunderers, and the Thunderers are turning around to keep up and fire away at them, while these Mogreb's Mangy Marauders are firing away in response at Ekron's Miners. Up front as well, you can see we've got these Iron Drakes firing away at these Goblins, getting those Goblins to dropping about 25% of the health and dropping their morale by about 50% as well, while back here now we've got this flanking maneuver, this encirclement pushing in rather aggressively. Of course, stalking is helping the Rusty Errors as well as the Night Goblins over here stay sneaky, while the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers and Durkit's Squigs are pushing in very aggressively, hoping to get some work done nice and early. Meanwhile, up front over here, you can see the Goblins are falling apart under all of that blasting charge fire. These Iron Drakes are trying to pull back into safety, keep their distance, of course, from the Black Orcs and the Goblins alike, while Ekron's Miners, of course, getting that blasting charge damage in before hoping to intercept those charges. While to the side over here, you can see we've got these Iron Drakes firing away, pun not intended, at these Black Orcs, hoping to get them to slow down, fall apart, maybe give up on the fight, waiting for these Dwarf Warriors with their great weapons to show up. And you can see over here as well, we've got these Iron Drakes pushing forward in the hopes of getting some shots in and maybe scaring some of these units off, and the Flame Cannon continues to fire away at the Black Orcs back here as WH kicks off. But you can see a lot of damage done. Not all engagements have begun just yet, so beautifully done by the Dawi, disallowing the Greenskins from getting clean engagements across the board here, wasting some time of that WH as it kicks off over here for the first time. But to the left flank over here, you can see we do have Durkit's Squigs rolling in for some rear charges into these Iron Drakes over here, tossing them around and getting some of them to completely give up on the fight. Many of them are falling apart. They are beginning to die out. Morale is dropping and health is dropping at the same time, while back in the middle over here, you can see the Flame Cannon continues to fire away. And to the right over here, we've got these Iron Drakes firing away at the Black Orcs, while we've got these Miners with blasting charges throwing their blasting charges at these Goblins, trying to prevent that charge from closing into the Iron Rake. So a lot going on at any given time in this battle, as you can expect from top tier players like this. And you can see back here at the same time, while all that was happening, these Night Goblin Squig Hoppers were able to get through and into these Thunderers, and those Thunderers are going to fall apart. Again, Night Goblin Squig Hoppers are anti-infantry and armor piercing with WH active. They have that huge bonus to melee attack as well. They bring in that poison damage too, so you can see these Thunderers are not having a good time at all, while over here, Mogreb's Mangy Marauders are firing away into Ekron's Miners as well, just trying to get rid of that unit as quickly as possible. Back in the middle, you can see as Azag flies by, we do get Itchy Nuisance being activated here from that Night Goblin Shaman. Back over here, you can see as well, we do have the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin active in the area as well, dropping the health and speed, of course, of these Black Orcs, trying to win that crucial central engagement. To the side over here, though, you can see these Black Orcs are coming out on top, while over here, these Black Orcs are completely falling apart. They haven't even engaged in melee yet, and Azag is looking for an opportunity, I think, to dive into some of these Thunders, perhaps, or maybe even these Flame Cannons, and so the Flame Cannon instantly decides it's time to drop the equipment and pull back into safety. Not a bad call at all, as Azag pushes in to maybe strike into these Thunderers and get rid of that very threatening ranged unit. And you can see over here, we already have some Black Orcs giving up on the fight, these Goblins as well giving up on the fight, freeing up these Iron Drakes so they can fire into these Black Orcs over here. Over here as well, these Goblins now willing to fight once more, while over here you can see we've got Durkit Squigs pulling back and looking for another opportunity to engage elsewhere if possible, pulling away from Ekron's Miners as they are being taken care of by the Black Orcs and the fire from Mogreb's Mangy Marauders. Over here you can see Durkit Squigs giving chase to these Thunderers, as well as I think these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, while you can see Azag over here having a field day, absolutely demolishing these Thunderers. And we do have that range fire coming in from the Rusty Arrows as well, reducing the Thunderer's will to fight, while these Thunderers are responding by opening fire on Azag himself, forcing him to fall back, and he does so quite effectively, pulling back into safety. But you can see up front, these Black Orcs are giving up on the fight across the board, not really having a good time. The Night Goblin Shaman as well giving up on the fight, and at the same time, take a look at the amount of damage being done to Durkit Squigs over here, down to about 50% health in one shot from these two units of Iron Drakes. Beautifully done there, and these guys are about to give up more or less instantaneously, pulling back, and wonderfully done there, wonderfully spotted a very dangerous situation for those Iron Drakes in the center there. But you can see back over here, we've got the Rusty Arrows pushing in and being chased by these Miners with blasting charges, but in response, we do have Night Goblin Squig Hoppers pushing in from that side charge, doing a wonderful job intercepting these Miners with their blasting charges. And from the right as well, you can see we've got these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers firing away into the sides of these Miners with blasting charges, again, trying to eliminate that unit as it gives chase to the Rusty Arrows. Back here, meanwhile, you can see Mogreb's Mangy Marauders continue to fire away at these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, hoping to, I think, convert those routes into shatters, eliminate those units once and for all, while over here you can see we've actually got these Thunderers firing away at these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers who ventured a little too close to these Thunderers over here, while over here these Iron Drakes continue to fire away at these threatening Black Orcs in the center over here. So wonderful management. You can see over here as well, these Iron Drakes turning around and firing into these Black Orcs, trying to keep these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons alive, because they're not going to last very long against the Black Orcs, but with that extra fire damage coming in, it'll make a huge difference. And at the same time, you can see as that Night Goblin Shaman is pulling back into safety, the Rune Lord is actually giving chase, trying to keep that Night Goblin Shaman on his toes, keep him at bay, I suppose, while over here the Rusty Arrows being forced back, as well as these Miners with blasting charges do get occupied thanks to Azag, as well as these Night Goblin Squig Hoppers from earlier. Mogreb's Mangy Marauders continue to fire away at Ekron's Miners, getting them to give up ultimately, while over here you can see we do have these Goblins able to close the gaps onto these Thunderers, and the Goblin Wolf Rider Archers as well close the gaps to these Thunderers just to prevent their fire for even a moment, even a handful of seconds there, buying some valuable time perhaps for these central units. And you can see these Black Orcs were able to overpower these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, and we also have these Night Goblins able to push through now. And again, the 8-peak loonies are unbreakable. They will not give up on the fight. No matter how much fire you throw their way, they're going to push right through, and that is a dangerous situation for these Iron Drakes, because that's their strength. That's what they're going for over here. But unfortunately, the Night Goblins, as you can see, are actually pulling back. Not the best call. They should have been sent in rather aggressively, closing the gaps to either these units over here or these units over here, preventing that fire from coming in. At the same time over here, you can see we've got the Thane having a wonderful time against these Goblins and Black Orcs alike, but he has been hit by Soul Blight in this central position over here. So too have these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass and the Dragonback Slayers, but of course the reduced armor doesn't matter to them, though the reduced weapon damage is going to make a difference. Of course, you can see these Black Orcs, though, aren't having the worst time despite being hit by the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and that has come from all the way over here. The Rune Lord is giving chase, again on foot, to this Night Goblin Shaman, not able to close the gap, maybe pulled away a little too far there. And back here you can see again we've got these Goblins still keeping these Thunderers engaged, making sure they're not able to fire away at some of these very threatening units that are overpowering the center right now. And you can see over here as well we've got these Black Orcs trying to close the gaps, I think, to these Iron Drakes, but they are being hit by the fire of the Iron Drakes, willing to fight despite that. Of course, leadership on Black Orcs is quite high, so despite that burnt effect, these Black Orcs are able to push right through and just collapse into those into those Iron Drakes and get them to give up. And back here as well you can see Mogreb's Mangy Marauders pushing in rather aggressively as well, looking for an opportunity to get involved, while back back here, the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers have almost been taken care of, actually, but ultimately it is the Miners with Blasting Charges that route, while back here we've got these Dwarf Warriors with their great weapons, shot up by the Rusty Arrows. Maybe some ammunition wasted over there, while up front you can see these Iron Drakes continue to fire away at these Black Orcs, and take a look at the damage being done over here as their health and morale drops. All of that fire coming through, reducing their will to fight significantly, and over here as well you can see fire coming in now to try and remove these Black Orcs from the field. Unfortunately, they were able to close the gaps to these Iron Drakes, and watch as those Iron Drakes just absolutely fall apart. They do not stand a chance in melee, which is very unfortunate. Back here as well, the Flame Cannon tried to return to its equipment, but again, these fearless Night Goblins, the 8-peak loonies, were able to close the gaps and completely destroy that unit, and now, of course, they're free to push in towards these Iron Drakes as well, get a nice rear charge into them and scare them off, perhaps. They respond, of course, with their fiery damage, but again, that's not going to do anything to morale. It will kill some of these Night Goblins, but it's not going to drop their morale, and they decide to actually pull back a little bit. Not the best call over there. Again, push in and get some engagements going on to prevent the fire from coming in. You can see Mograv's Major Marauders as well firing into these Iron Drakes, hoping to scare them off, and now the Black Orcs are able to push through as well, as the front line has finally given up. You can see the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass have completely given up on the fight. The Thane isn't able to hold that line any longer. The Rune Lord is pulling back to try and provide some assistance if possible, and you can see the Black Orcs actually get sneaky stab in for that extra melee attack and armor piercing. A little too late, unfortunately, as the Thane and the Dragonback Slayers have pulled away, trying to rescue some of these Iron Drakes, I think, but you can see these Iron Drakes are in a terrible situation. These guys are getting surrounded as well. They get hit by these Black Orcs. We've got these Goblins, of all things, Goblins. What a terrible way to go as a Dawi, closing the gap over here, trying to get a nice rear charge. We have Azag over here intercepting these Thunderers, making sure they're not able to get any supporting fire in. The Rusty Arrows firing away. We've got Mograv's Mangy Marauders pushing into melee as well, tossing Iron Drakes back, tossing them around. The Thane trying to provide some support. The Rune Lord arrives, but he might just be a little too late. As you can see over here, we've got these Iron Drakes giving up on the fight. Goblins returning to the fight. We've got these Black Orcs as well, willing to fight once more, and the Night Goblin Shaman, of course, returning to the fray as well. Off in the distance, a couple of shattered Greenskin units, but that isn't going to be enough. The Dwarfs give up on the fight, and the Greenskins take the day with a glorious victory and a valiant defeat for the Dawi. First off, a big shout out to Shetland Apache for sending in defeats. It really adds some variety to these videos, and it's nice to see top tier players have challenging battles. He's a top-tier player facing off against another top-tier player, and they can go either way. Now, for the first 90% of the battle, it felt like the Dwarfs had the upper hand. They were able to break the Greenskins, often preventing clean engagements, and fire was used to great effect. Unfortunately, once the encirclement pushed in with full aggression from all sides, the loosest of formations in the world couldn't have kept the Dawi ranged contingent safe. They put up a good fight overall, but the perimeter got picked off, distances were closed down, and a new entry was added into the Book of Grudges. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons for supporting the channel on a month-to-month basis. It makes a huge difference in keeping the channel alive and running. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.